Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm your host Sandman. Today I'm going to be reviewing UK Lockpickers Cutaway locks. Let's get into it. So I've known UK Lockpickers going back to 2010, and he's been active in at least the North American community since 2008. He has an account on keypicking.com. It's a old website for locksporters and old locksporters like me, and that website's not even working anymore, but his account goes back to 2008. So this guy's been around since longer than me. He's been a part of the hobby and the community for going on 2 decades now. And I love going to his website and finding such just the most obscure locksport, locksmith stuff that I can find on the internet. I absolutely love it. I love that I've known the guy for so long. I love purchasing everything from him. And man, he'll contact me. He goes, "Hey man, I just got a package going out to you. Just keep an eye out for it." And it'll just be like, just amazing stuff. Like, he's just the greatest friend ever. So I love that guy. He's amazing. I love all his products. I normally pull out, some product sheet and I read the product descriptions and stuff. Guys, they're just locks that have been cut away. They're milled. You don't need me describing anything. I'll put a link in the video description down below to all of this. And, depending on where you are in the world will depend on the cost. So, but I have a lot of product here. So obviously we have the 4 cutaways here. We have, a lever lock. Man, I need to make myself a little bit more familiar with the locks that are in the UK, but this is certainly a lever lock in what I would have called a mortise case, but it's not a mortise case. If you're in the UK and you know exactly what this is, by all means, yell at me in the comments down below, because my terminology is off and I just woke up an hour ago. So, cutaway locks here, acrylic lock here. We have a challenge lock here with an external and an internal. So the internal actually has 7 pins and the external has 6 pins, and they are all removable. So I can remove these guys with those set screws there, and I can put any type of security pins I want in this sucker. And it is highly paracentric, super difficult. That's fun. I've only picked one side. I picked one side and I told him, I was like, hey, I don't remember which one it was. I was like, hey, I picked the side. He goes, oh, that was the easy side, mate. He's like, you should try to pick the other side. I'm like, oh, okay. And I haven't even tried since. So I love using the acrylic ones for explaining to people at Locksport meetups how locks work. This specifically is a dimple lock. So I'm explaining to them the difference between a dimple lock and a pin tumbler lock. So that is beneficial. I love using all of these cutaways. This is another dimple lock cutaway. So this, if I'm going to pick a dimple lock, and let's say I wanted to put it on camera, or maybe I just want to show off to my friends, this would be the way to go with a dimple lock, because it's better tolerances here. This is brass. This is plastic. This is going to feel like a real lock. This is going to feel like gobbledygook if you're trying to use this for picking for reality's sake. This is really just for a good for discussing how a lock works. This is great for showing your picking skills and showing off your skills in your videos. However, let's talk about what cutaway locks are not. They're not a learning aid. I believe that they're a teaching aid, but they're not a learning aid. I can use a cutaway lock to teach somebody. I can show them that if there are 6 pin stacks, then that means there are a total of 12 pins. So there's 12 key pins and 12 driver pins and 6 springs and the like. And I'm trying to find a separation between the shear line between the key pin and the driver pins. So it's a good teaching aid, but it's a terrible learning aid. And why is it a terrible learning aid? It's a terrible learning aid because I've tried to warn people in previous videos that cutaway locks are not for learning, they're for teaching. And then they go out and they buy a $100 cutaway and they say, Sandman, can you advise me on the best way to hold my lock? Because I can't see what's going on in the lock. And it's like, well, they weren't designed for this. It's just cutaways originally started out as factory cutaways. So a dealer or the manufacturer would order so many cutaways, like 1 out of every 1,000 or something like that, to give to the dealers to put on their showroom floor so they could use it as a selling point to the customers. If you go to your local locksmith, they will probably have several cutaways, maybe even gigantic cutaways of these, locks. and they are put out on display just so you can see that the security features inside them. They were never designed to be sold to a customer so you can learn how to exploit, manipulate, and pick that lock. That's not what they're designed for. So it doesn't surprise me as a collector when I go to buy a Cutaway lock and I'm like, yoki doki silly, I can't see what I'm doing. Well, even if I were to put it into a vise and I were to change the warding or flip it upside down and pick it, whatever. This is right set up because this is your profile center. But okay, let's say my hand's not covering this and I'm using my turning tool. What am I going to do? Cock my head over here at a 90-degree angle, or so that way I can see what's going on to be able to pick it. That's not how you learn lock picking. We learn lock picking by feel. All right. We use spatial reasoning. Spatial reasoning. Look into that. So there are ways you can actually build your spatial reasoning, but it's basically your mind's eye of what you're able to visually see without seeing physically with your eyes on the inside of, in this particular case, a lock. So your spatial reasoning skills. These are not going to make you better at lock picking. Now, however, you can go to pick a lock, one of these locks, and you can be like, man, I am so stumped. I cannot figure out what I am doing wrong here. So you can apply that rotation, hold what you got, and then cock your head over and take a look and be like, okay, I've got a pin that's overset. In that particular instance, yes, you are learning, but ideally these are for training. You are showing somebody else how a lock works, or you might have a camera butted up to this guy, specifically this one here. You might have a camera focused on here and you could record yourself picking, and you can go back and watch what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Or maybe you want to be famous like McNally and Lockpicking Lawyer or Bosnian Bill or Lady Lux and Lock Noob and all these other awesome people, and you want to just create a really cool, fun video and a short on how to pick locks. This is the way to go. So don't be confused to their purpose. I am not... People are like, Sandman, what's the best Cutaway lock I should buy to learn how to pick locks? And I'm like, don't buy Cutaway locks, buy real locks. But at some point, you're going to get to where you want to build your collection. You're going to fall in love with locks. You're going to fall in love with teaching and demonstrating and showing your girlfriend and your boyfriend and your friends and your friends' friends and your mother's friends and how to pick a lock. And there is no better way to show that than with a Cutaway. Because if I just walk up to somebody and goes, hey, let me show you how to pick a lock, and you don't see what's actually happening on the inside, they're just going to see your hands moving. And if you're raking, they're just going to think, oh, I just got to stab a lock 20 times and it opens. So that's why I love these guys. Man, that was a really long rant, but really that's all there is to talk about these Cutaway locks. They are super fine. I really love them. Chrome polished. I would imagine that these are brass with like a chrome on the outside. That's my guess. The difference between this one and this one is that this one has pin tumblers on both sides, okay? And obviously I would pick this. I could either pick this in this fashion because these are sometimes installed in a door like this, and sometimes these are installed like this. Typically it's going to be like this, where the pin stack is on the bottom and the keyway is on the top, and therefore the Cutaway in this particular side is on the left. But if I'm right-handed and I'm covering my lock with my left hand to tension, and I want to record myself, or I want to see the progress of where I'm at 10 minutes into this monster, then I would probably pick it on this side instead, so that way I can see. So this is, I would call this an ambidextrous Cutaway. Even though the cuts are on one side, as I flip it around, I'm going to see a cut on a different side, which is a kind of weird to explain. This one, however, is a right-handed Cutaway. So if I'm picking this traditionally, in the traditional sense, left-handed Cutaway. Yeah, so left-handed. So if I was left-handed, I'm an idiot. So if I'm picking this with the pin stack down, which is how they're installed typically in the UK, I am going to be covering that pin stack there. But if I'm left-handed, I'm picking with my left hand and tensioning with my right, I'm going to be able to see that pin stack. Alternatively, though, if I just flip it this way, which some of these are installed this way, not many I would imagine, but in North America, this is how we install our locks, with a pin stack on top, the keyway on the bottom. You can see the Cutaway there, and that's that. I already talked about the challenge lock. This is another cutaway. That's the dimple lock. And then we have this cutaway here of the lever locks, and I'm going to start learning how to do that as well. This one and this one both come with extra pins, set screws, springs. So, oh, and there's even some security pins in here. So you can totally, I've got spool pins in here. I've got serrated pins in here. So there's all types of stuff. So these don't just have to be demonstration tools. These can be challenge locks for yourself. I don't mean to detract from the idea that you're not supposed to learn from these or that you can't learn from these. I just don't recommend it. I recommend that you just go to the hardware store and buy real locks for learning on. But for teaching, there is no better tool in the world than these tools. That is 100% true. You can't deny that at all. So go ahead and head over to Uklockpickers and check out the link in the description below and see if any of these fit your fancy. I get a lot of people who say, hey, Sandman, I can't afford covert instruments, but I really want to get some high quality lock picks. What should I do? I almost always, 99 times out of 100, send them to Uklockpickers to get whatever they need. I don't think there's any reason I ever send them anywhere else unless they just have a bigger budget and they want to purchase some some Multipick. And, Moki now has his own website, and then, there's like Bare Bones if they're out of Australia. But typically, if you're in the UK, Uklockpickers is a really great bet. There are other websites that are competitive to Uklockpicker that may offer different products. I'm not going to mention those here because this is a Uklockpickers specific video for his cutaways. I will talk about those particular products in those videos, so that way I can keep things nice and fair. Moving forward, also, if you are into jackknife tools, Uklockpickers also has their own jackknife tool, and that might be something you want to look into. That's actually this jackknife tool, and if you're not familiar with jackknife tools, essentially all I got to do is I just loosen up this thumb turn, and some picks are going to fall out here. 1 second. Here we go. We get some picks. There we go. And then you can pick a lock. I've got a turning tool there. I've got rakes. I got single pin picks. And this thing was actually kind of modeled after the very famous Mad Bob's jackknife that I have here, which are no longer offered or available to the general public. So they did a good job with that. I have so many more tools from them. In fact, the Uklockpickers does come with an expansion kit that you can add in a whole bunch of turning tools. So you might want to check that out. In fact, that was the wrong expansion kit. This is the Uklockpickers expansion kit. I'm an idiot. So anything that you want to find, you can find there. Lock picks, locks, all kinds of stuff. I don't really know what else to say. I do really love these tools. These are so nice. I have a whole bunch of cutaways. I probably have maybe 15 or 25 cutaways. I've lost count at this point. But these are definitely some of the nicest I have in my collection. So let me know your thoughts down below. What is this thing? I forget the name for this. I know it's a lever lock, but is there a specific name for this type of case? I don't remember. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on these cutaway locks. Do you use them for learning, or do you use them just for demonstrating? I'm sure some of you can put me in my place and say, but Sandman, Sandman, you're wrong. Okay, I'm sure I'll hear about it tomorrow morning. So let me know. That's all I have for today, folks. I'm not rich. I'm irresponsible and buy all the things. People ask me all the time. They're like, Sandman, should I buy this or should I buy that? And I'm like, bro, you have come to the wrong channel. I buy everything. I buy all the things. Like, Sandman, I don't have that much money. I'm like, I don't either. There's this thing called a credit card, and those people love me. My wife, however, does not. So I cannot give you advice on what lock picks to buy or what locks to buy or tools or whatever else. I'm a collector. I buy it all, and then I enjoy everything. I enjoy it all, but I sit quietly and I use the tools that I like to use for me, and I think it's hilarious that I have figured out what works for me because I own everything. I have over 50 unique lockpick sets. So I think it's fun to sit down and have an opinion based off of having a large collection instead of just what I see being marketed on Facebook or something like that. You know, those ads that pop up every 5 posts from sparrows. Oh my gosh. So it's so fun to have an educated opinion of this stuff. And I really think that Uklockpickers is doing an amazing job providing really great tools to the community. I don't really have much more to add to this. I'm just rambling right now, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Mr. Mr. Sandman, bring us, please, 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 Mr.